Welcome to Optily Radio, your regular 30-minute dose of everything you need to accelerate your e-commerce marketing success.
Hey there, and welcome back to another episode of Optily Radio. I'm your host, Nina White, and in the virtual studio with us today is Valentin Radu, founder and CEO of Omniconvert, a growth enabler for mid-sized D2C, e-commerce, and retail companies looking to increase customer lifetime value and decrease customer acquisition costs. He's a prolific speaker and a customer value optimization evangelist across various stages. And we have a familiar face joining us, Optily's CEO, Brendan Hughes. Welcome to the show, Valentin and Brendan.
Hi, Nina, and thanks for having me.
It's great to have you, Valentin. I'm avid follower of you on LinkedIn on your daily tips, so it's great to have you on board.
Excellent. Happy to hear that, Brendan.
Great. So why don't we jump in and have you tell us a little bit about yourself, how it is you got into the world of e-commerce, and how Omniconvert came about?
Yeah, sure. So I'm a former ex-poor kid from Bucharest, Romania. I've launched companies when I was 21 years old. I've made brought broadband connection in my neighborhood, and I felt like a rock star. Everyone was thanking me at that moment. After that, I took all the money and I ruined everything because I've launched a B2B website development agency. However, I've learned the Google AdWords game and the Google Analytics. They were just starting out back in 2007. Worked with the client and that turned out to become my business partner. He was selling online car insurance. I've seen the UK market skyrocketing, and I thought that this is the right moment for Romania from where I am. And we turned out having 250,000 customers in the 5 years since we launched. After that, I discovered the dominant numbers and the ways to influence the dominant numbers in e-commerce. Let's say I kind of cracked the code of e-commerce growth. And at that moment, I decided to turn what we built internally for our own use into a software as a service company. And then that's how Omniconvert got to be alive. And after 9 years in this rodeo, we've learned a lot. We've worked with hundreds and thousands of companies. We deliver something like 35 million personalized visits every month. So our technology is being used by all sorts of e-commerce companies. Basically in the last 3-4 years, I became obsessed about customer lifetime value and life cycle marketing. And I actually, let's say, got myself out of the narrative that paid media and acquisition equals growth in e-commerce. And after that, I'm advocating about this cause everywhere I can. And I'm glad to be here with you to talk about these topics.
Great. As you know, we're in the paid media space, right, in optimizing kind of acquisition. And we love when any of our clients are focused on customer lifetime value, because it means then that the cost to acquire a customer and the return on the acquisition is much better.
Yeah.
Maybe tell us a bit about, what your software does, what your service does to bring those costs down and then to increase this customer lifetime value.
Yeah, for sure. So one important thing is that customer lifetime value versus customer acquisition cost is a very important ratio in e-commerce, and few companies are actually measuring it. What we do is we empower companies to actually measure what matters. I mean, you can't increase what you don't measure, right? So if you don't measure things like, conversion rate or ROAS or whatever you want to optimize, if you don't actually measure it, whatever you do, you're not going to have feedback if what you're doing is right or wrong. And our technology is empowering companies. We ingest data about transaction customers and whatever from their Shopify or BigCommerce or Magento, whatever e-commerce platform they have. And then we show the important metrics such as purchase frequency, customer lifetime value, customer retention rate, and so on. then what we do is we segment their customers. We are using a methodology called RFM, recency, frequency, and monetary value. So basically, any e-commerce company out there has fantastic customers and not so good customers, not to say toxic customers, but there are high chances that many customers are actually not even returning the investment to acquire them based on what they are buying. And thanks to RFM and thanks to our model to segment them, the company is becoming aware about, hey, we call them the soulmates, the ones that bought most recently, most frequently, and they have the highest monetary value. And with this type of approach, they can realize, you know what? These are our golden goose, our best customers. Those are the customers that we should be after. And of course, there is a whole process. We've even built an online academy around the customer value optimization. And basically, our solution is empowering companies to monitor what matters, to segment the customers, and then to improve ad spend, knowing who are their customers and building lookalike audiences and custom audiences based on their best customers that they have.
Can I jump into on the RFM modeling? Because I think not enough people are thinking about it and talking about it. Maybe to explain it to people, if you could identify what are the top 3 segments, right, in an RFM modeling, recency frequency modeling, that people should be focused on. And that would probably help people understand what it's all about,
Yeah, of course. So with the RFM, you have all sorts of distribution. For instance, the best customers that you have are having the highest recency, so highest recency score, right? So they've bought in the last, let's say, 20 days. Yeah, let's pretend for the sake of argument that you are selling toys. And looking at the data, thanks to our technology, you realize that, our best customers are buying within 20 days from their first initial order. So if a customer bought in the last 20 days, placed more than 5 orders, let's say, which is the highest frequency score, and spent more than, let's say, £1,000, those are the soulmates. We call them the soulmates because those are the ideal customers that the company could have. And the purpose for the soulmates is, of course, to delight them, to keep them coming, and to acquire more like them based on the insights, based on the products they are buying, based on the reasoning, the narrative that they are having, because they have this way to describe the reasoning why they are choosing you over a lot of other competitors. So that's one segment which is crucially important. Another very important customer segment are the new passions. We call them the new passions because they are new and they are really passionate about your brand, let's say. They have the highest recency score, so they bought within the last 20 days. But they placed only 1 order. However, despite these facts, they are among the best in terms of the monetary value. So they placed 1 order in the last 20 days and they've spent already, let's say, £600. So they are not as good as the soulmates, but the potential is fantastic. And you might want to acquire more like them and to onboard them properly because they have a high spending potential. And that's another segment. And one which is also important, we call them the about to dump you. Those are customers that are slipping away. You could have made them buy again, but you haven't done it. And despite their high potential, you haven't done your job properly. And the idea is to treat everyone according to the relationship they have with your brand. However, now from my perspective, we are just starting out this type of life cycle marketing, and we are in the, let's say, prehistory, right? We are not there yet, but in the future, companies will become aware about, hey, we have this customer, it's out on our website, he was pissed off because of the last order that we delayed, and we will give this kind of treatment, this kind of incentive on autopilot without bothering to basically have pissed off customers on your website. You will know that and you will leverage this kind of intel in the future.
Awesome. That's really fascinating stuff. So obviously everyone's trying to get as many of these soulmate customers. So what are some of the main problems that you've identified among e-commerce companies that sort of stand in the way of customer retention?
Yeah, the first problem, Nina, is that they don't measure what matters, right? And the other problem is the mentality of the leaders. There is a lot of inertia right now, a lot of organizational inertia, which is ironical because it's clear that the market is changing, right? We are seeing ROAs going down. We see a lot of competition, the inflation, whatever. So it's clear that the game is changing. However, they are not changing the ways that they are treating their customers, the ways that they are, let's say, understanding and analyzing their own business models. So that's the main issue. If you don't have leaders which are open-minded and thinking outside their box, and what they do is just tweak the campaigns and come up with another creative angle which is not related to the actual problem that the products are solving for their customers, they are not going to move the needle in the future. And of course, the third one is, and that's happening due to the lack of knowledge. So basically, acquisition, it's let's say dramatically improved once you know who are your best customers, because you know why they are buying, what they are buying, where they are coming from. For instance, we had one of our first customers that we applied RFM segmentation. It was back in 2016. They reached a plateau doing the A/B testing and conversion rate optimization. They had a competitor coming into their market. It's one of the largest, if not the largest, online shoe retailer in Central and Eastern Europe. They spent something like 2 million euros on a new TV campaign. I was questioning their CEO and their CMO. Fortunately, we've been in very close relationship because they were happy about what we done for them. And I questioned what's going to be the ROI for this 2 million euro invested in the TV campaign. And they were like, no, we don't know. I mean, but everyone is doing it, so why don't we? Basically, once you know who's your ideal customer profile, it's going to be way more easier. In their case, we've done this RFM segmentation, and they thought that their best customers are coming from the audience that Facebook and Google Analytics were showing them, like ladies between 20 and 30 years old, while in reality, their best customers were not coming from large cities, but from smaller cities, because they haven't got shopping malls over there, and they were selling all these kind of brands, and they weren't that young. They were actually between 35 and 45 years old. So once you know that, it's clear that the brand voice should be different. Once you know who are your best customers, not from a statistical point of view, but actually looking at your actual customers that are buying over and over again. And that's the third problem, which is the education component. I mean, we're in the process. E-commerce, it's a work in progress, right? It's not done. It's being done as we're speaking.
In one of your recent daily tips on LinkedIn, you mentioned that the customer lifetime value is not the marketer's problem or the marketer's kind of sole responsibility. It's the CEO's. So obviously, in that example you talked about, you're talking to the CEO. So what are you saying to these guys about what they need to focus on?
Yeah, it's kind of hard, Brendan, because imagine that it's like I'm a turtle. I have this metaphor, right? I'm a turtle that has been in the ocean, in the water, living in the water, but got out there on the dry land. And now I'm coming back and I try to explain to the fish that there are trees out there. They don't get it. So basically it's all a matter of explaining and transitioning them from a product-centric perspective to a customer-centric perspective. And what I'm telling them, it's mostly regarding the buying habits. I mean, demand is not happening out of the blue. There are some emotions behind the demand, right? So when the pandemic time started, we were all changing our behaviors. We migrated online, and now we are not. We are basically changing again our behavior. So it's all a matter of customer behavior, and in order to be prepared, you need to follow. You need to understand customer behavior, and you need to look at the cohorts of customers, not only at EBITDA and profit and margin and the financial perspective, and not only on the visitor behavior, which is Google Analytics, which is a fantastic tool, but it's not showing you the customer behavior. There is another piece in the puzzle. And what I'm telling to the CEOs is that they need this direct connection between them and the customers, because one of the best KPIs which is showing the future is called the Net Promoter Score and Customer Lifetime Value. Those are showing you the trends towards how the future is going to look, while revenue, EBITDA, traffic, whatever, they are showing you the past, what happens. what happened already, right?
Great. So you mentioned NPS scores. So that really brings me into my next question. So when it comes to customer behavior analysis and measuring customer satisfaction, how granular do you think brands need to get with this data collection for it to be successful, as opposed to just taking up so much time without kind of getting that much out of it? Where's sort of that balance?
Mm-hmm. I've discovered there are 4 layers of sophistication, let's say, when you look at the KPIs. The first layer, and these are the dominant numbers in an e-commerce. The first layer is profit equals revenue minus cost. Everyone knows that. Everyone wants profit. So it's all a matter of increase revenue, decrease cost. We know everyone. We do know that from, from school. Then if we go deeper, revenue means customers multiplied by the customer lifetime value. If you go deeper, that's the second layer. If we go even deeper than that, customers means traffic multiplied by the conversion rate. So that's the third layer. And the customer lifetime value means customer retention, purchase frequency, average order value, and gross margin. And if we go even deeper than that, that's the fourth layer. We need purchase frequency. We need average days between transactions. We need to look at the things that matter, because if we tweak for these dominant numbers, it's like a domino effect, right? We can't go out there and optimize the revenue itself or the customer lifetime value itself, but we can optimize for a better average days between transaction, like triggering different emails or doing a cross-channel campaign, triggering emails and ads and SMS with a better onboarding campaign where we are incentivizing customers to, use the product, because nobody's buying again a product that they haven't consumed or used. So, and that's a trap in customer value optimization, because everyone thinks that if you activate a customer loyalty system, you are done. It's not, how you made that customer loyalty system, what kind of assumptions have you had, how you are incentivizing customers to change their behavior and build their habits. And basically, that's why I think the more granular you can get, the better, but you can't get too granular when you're too small. So it's a thin line. However, measuring those things is crucially important, because once you measure them, you can also do business modeling. Everything that we are seeing in the real world was in our imagination. Okay, except nature and trees and whatever, but we are looking at all these things around us. There were some thoughts in someone's mind. So we as e-commerce leaders, we must have a model which is making sense. And in order to build that model, we need those kind of dominant numbers and to understand what kind of levers do I need to pull so that I have a better return on investment, right? To have the minimum effort and the maximum impact. And in order to do so, you need to look at these dominant numbers and to tweak them and to see, okay, if I would be increasing the purchase frequency by 10%, what's going to happen with my margin? If I will be increasing the traffic by 10%, what's going to happen with my margin? And once you know where you are, you know where you should be investing your efforts. And over relying on traffic optimization or on ROAS without looking at the other aspects of the business, I think it's not so open-minded, to say the least.
Yeah. So you agree with everything you've said there, and let's say we've got our segmentation set up, where we've got our numbers and our metrics kind of set up, and you made the point there that just getting all of this in place is not the end of it. Unfortunately, we now need the work starts now, right? So
yeah, exactly.
So it's the emails, it's the ads, it's the SMS reminders, it's the on-site. So what's that mix that you would suggest to people to be testing and to be trialing? So what's the mix of triggers that people should be thinking about? Yeah.
There are some strategies that work no matter the business model. And one of them is to do RFM segmentation and then learn from your best customers who they are and leverage them as lookalike audience. Now, Facebook algorithm, and you know this better than I do, in Europe, 1 out of 3 customers is now new users of Facebook is sharing data with Facebook. That means the profiles that they know things about are less are not as many as they were. However, if people are logged in, and they must log in, Facebook knows about them. So if you push a lookalike audience based on your best customers, Facebook will be coming way smarter instantly. So we've seen impact as high as 41% uplift in ROAS for newly acquired customers if they were using RFM segments to as seeds audiences, right? So that's very easy to do. I mean, you do whatever you've done so far, but based on the RFM segments. And then you test creatives knowing that the CLV is so high for those type of customers that you can afford to bid more. And exactly like you've said, Brendan, once you know that, it's instantly, you're not applying the one-size-fits-all approach, because many companies are stubborn and they say, you know what, we need a cost per conversion of $20, and that's it. Why is it $20? Maybe if I'll bring you a customer which is generating $800, would you still want to pay only $20 for that, or would you be able to pay $200, let's say? And the one which is winning, according to Jeff Bezos, is the one that affords to pay more to acquire a customer. So if you can afford to pay more, maybe it's time to wake up and to do this type of advanced techniques, because otherwise you will struggle. And it's clear that paid ads are a mix of the right channel, the right creatives, the right offers, and also the right targeting. So if you all you do is to mix the channels, to change the agencies, to do whatever, without knowing who you are targeting and with what kind of creative campaign, then you will miss out on a huge opportunity. And that's one tactic that they could be applying right away. It's very easy. They already do this.
I think the most really critical point that you made, and just to bring it out a little bit, is without knowing CLVs, customer lifetime values, then you're stuck paying your $20 a month $20 to acquire a customer. And you're missing out on so much opportunity that where you might be fully justified to spend $50 or $60 to acquire an $800 customer, and that's, without doing this kind of activity, you're never going to see that. You're never going to spot those opportunities, because the platforms and Google Analytics, they don't have that data. They just don't have it.
That's right.
Great. So my next question is it's a little kind of hard to generalize, because obviously everything is going to vary from company to company in terms of strategy. So I'd like to hear some maybe recent success stories from using your models and data to create some, new approaches for some of your recent customers.
Yeah, sure. I'll be glad to do it. So we have a customer which is selling alcohol replacement, right? A free alcohol drink that's better. And I can say that because we've tasted ourselves. Their name is Jimber. So they are selling a ginger-based drink. They have these beautiful bottles, and what they've done, we help them to do customer research. It's a methodology to do jobs to be done research. So what's the job to be done by your product? So imagine that every product has a transportation mission to get customers from a struggling moment to a desired outcome. And the bridge is the product. And they are hiring a product to get from point A to point B. With this type of research, we realized that there wasn't just a job to be done. There were 3 different jobs to be done. One was about having a drink and spoiling yourself after a hard day at work. Another one was to basically feel like you are socializing with your friends without getting dizzy in the morning, right? And to still feel like you are doing a social activity without the, let's say, bad effects of the alcohol, right? Because that's it. You can drink as many glasses of Jimber as you want without having the side effects of this. And thanks to this realization, we've done we've basically helped their teams to do different creatives and different email marketing sequences. And basically, at the end, they've increased their ROAS by 41%, because the creatives were around the jobs to be done. They weren't about, hey, it's a free alcohol drink. No, it was about feel better with your friends. You don't have to feel dizzy the next morning when you're friends. So it was about the context where the product was helpful. And then Basically, that's one of our success stories, but there are plenty of them. I can dry my mouth speaking with you about those.
Awesome. Yeah, I've definitely seen their ads. Yeah, go ahead, Brendan.
No, look, a lot of our conversation, Valentin, has been about maybe using this data to acquire customers. And what we're seeing increasingly in the last 2-3 years is people who are engaging in this type of segmentation is using the data, obviously not just through the owned channels such as email and SMS, but also through paid channels to retain customers and to encourage repurchase and to keep continuing the conversation. Are you seeing a lot of that? Are people taking these segments and using them in ad platforms to re-engage with customers with almost personalized messaging?
Yeah, and for instance, we have this section, this feature called the Audience Builder, where you can build audiences based on the RFM segment, based on the day since the last transaction, based on the product category, and the NPS score. And basically, you launch evergreen campaigns based on the NPS score or based on the city. And these are custom campaigns to re-engage the customers, like, hey, long time no see, because we do know that we have a customer that bought in the last 90 days, and now it's from a particular RFM segment. And basically, you have 4 types of campaigns. You have the acquisition campaigns, you have the onboarding campaigns, where you want to make them use the product and, let's say, make them happy by their acquisition. Then you have the nurturing or prevention campaigns, where you want to, let's say, prevent churn, and the reactivation campaigns, the ones which you are triggering. The beauty is that you can launch them on an evergreen way. And then it's like you've built, you're orchestrating relationships, and messages throughout these different channels like SMS, ads, email, whatever. And you are very relevant because you know that, hey, there are 6 months since this customer, which was a high value customer, hasn't bought from us and he bought this particular product. So let's do this type of messaging. And it's all a matter of orchestrating these messages, and once you do it, it's really, really outstanding because your job will be to tweak the system afterwards. But the first part is to launch. The hardest part is the beginning.
Great. Well, this has all been really, really great advice and fascinating stuff to discuss, but unfortunately we are out of time. So we'd like to conclude with the question that we ask all of our guests at the end, which is, what is one thing that our listeners can start to implement today that will help them accelerate their business and that they will come away from this episode with? What is that one thing, according to you?
I would go with the prioritizing customer research. So I can't emphasize this enough. You have to know more about your customer behavior because we're all in the game of changing customer behavior. That's what we do with our ads, campaigns, whatever we are doing. And if you don't know the habits that the customers, your best customer have, and if you don't do this type of research, you will spray and pray. And nowadays it's too expensive to spray and pray. The gold days are gone right now. So that's my suggestion, to do this type of customer research. We also have a CVO Academy for whoever it's interested. I also have a surprise for whoever is listening. We give away one for the first review for this podcast episode. We will give away a certification process to the CVO Academy. The whole program, it's $749 worth of knowledge with a lot of heavy hitters in the space. So basically, just review this episode, tell us what you think, and will be Brandon and Nina will give it to you.
Amazing.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll definitely put that link in the notes then. It's been a pleasure talking to you, Valentin Radu, and Brendan Hughes. Thanks so much for being on the show. Thanks for joining us for this episode of Optily Radio, Accelerate E-commerce Marketing. We're of course brought to you by Optily, the new Shopify app that's revolutionizing how store owners manage their ad spend across Facebook, Instagram, Google, and YouTube. If you're one of the millions who is struggling to know where to spend your marketing dollars for the most impact, try out Optily free for 2 weeks. Watch your returns increase, hours open up in your schedule, and achieve your business goals fast. Learn more at optily.com. We'll catch you back here next time on Optily Radio for more expert tips on growing your online store through marketing. Take care.